Well, I have started learn programming when I was a teenager in the 80s. And first I went to a colleague's house and he had a computer. And then I told my father, oh, I want a computer too. And then that computer came with the basic programming language. And I learned that. Then I learned a bit of the assembly programming language for that computer. And then when I entered college, I studied Pascal and C and Lisp. So I started programming in the 80s, and Erlang was created in the 80s too. But I believe the first time I heard about Erlang was in 2011. I was reading Bruce Tate's book. It's 7 languages in 7 weeks, and one of the languages is Erlang. And it's funny because José Valim read that book too, and then he decided to create Elixir. And so the book is from 2011. Maybe in 2013, I heard, oh, there is this programming language. And only in 2018, oh, and I spent a year in the USA, and there people mentioned, oh, there is this language, this new language, Elixir. It's great. But I didn't decide to study Elixir until 2018. And frankly, the main motivation for starting studying Elixir was because it was a programming language created by a Brazilian, and I am Brazilian. And that's when I got to know a little bit more about the bean. I like Elixir syntax very much. I know it's difficult to say that about the programming language, but many people use that term. It's beautiful. The code in Elixir is beautiful. At first, I would not say that about Erlang too, but after some time you get used to it and you start to thinking that some Erlang code can also be beautiful. And of course, one of the great things about Elixir and Erlang, because of the bean, is it's so easy to create distributed systems. You open a terminal and you create a process in the other terminal, you create another process, and you can make those processes communicate. I think it's something that you don't find in most languages. So the Elixir community in particular, it has a lot of podcasts. Of course, some of them have already ended. I believe Elixir Fountain was the first podcast. It's not active anymore. And Elixir Talk, I believe, was the second. Now we have some very active podcasts like Thinking Elixir, Elixir Mentor, and there are others, but there was no podcast in Portuguese. And I believe at the time there was no Elixir or Erlang related podcast in any other language, in any language other than English. All podcasts were in English. And as the language was created in Brazil, and it was during the pandemic, I had some free time, and so let's create a podcast. And I tweeted that, and then I got 3 volunteers, three people to help me, which were Cristine Guadalupe, Hermínio Torres, and Zoe Peçanha. So we created this podcast. We interviewed many people from the Brazilian Elixir and Erlang community. They work with Elixir either in their own companies or in Brazilian companies or in companies from other countries. We had a series called Elixir in Production. Oh, and also we sometimes we open the podcast to other programming languages. We had an episode on Clojure. We had an episode on Lean, which is another programming language that was created by a Brazilian, Leonardo de Moura. Oh, and we interviewed José Valim in our 12th, uh, 12th episode. Ours is very simple. It's just the four hosts and one or two interviewees, and we talk about how Elixir is used in that company, why do they like the bean, how is the bean important for the company, which are good learning materials for someone that wants to learn Elixir or Erlang. And it's it has been good for us. We recently I went to an event. I was also part of the organization, the Elixir Days event in São Paulo, Brazil. São Paulo is the largest city in Brazil, and there were about maybe 100 people there, and a lot of people knew me because of the podcast. That was great. A lot of the people that we interviewed and we only knew through a monitor were there, and we could talk to them in person. And we have a modest audience for Brazil, maybe for world numbers, maybe 200 people, I believe, download our episodes every month. We publish one episode every month, and it has been good for us. It's we learn a lot by doing it. We get to know new people. I can see only advantages in doing that podcast. It's a growing community. I believe many people like Elixir and try to learn Elixir for the same reason that I did, because it was created by a Brazilian, and José Valim is a great guy. He's funny. He's always helping. I've had students that had doubts and sent a message to Valim, and he answers. And so that's one question. There are some companies, maybe not many companies, but there are some companies in Brazil that use Elixir in production, so it's used to make money, as they say. I know there's also some companies that use Erlang in production here in Brazil, but that's another topic. But one problem is that the community has grown so much that there are not enough jobs in Brazil for the people that want to work with Elixir. And I believe maybe that's a problem in the whole world, because there are so many people that find Elixir interesting and they want to work with Elixir. In the Brazilian community, in the community at large, is that, oh, we need more companies adopting Elixir. We need more CTOs learning what you can do with Elixir and Erlang and the Bean. And the Brazilian community is in this point where, okay, there are many people. It could be much more, because there are, I'm a professor, and so I have students, and those students, it's possible that if it wasn't for me, and sometimes I don't see some students during the whole course, the students that study some discipline with me, they learn something about Elixir, because I find time to talk about Elixir and Erlang with them. But there is no course that, oh, let's learn Elixir here. So it's possible that some people, some students, they graduate and they don't know that there is an Elixir programming language that was created by a Brazilian, that is used by Brazilian companies, that is used by many companies around the world. I'm looking forward for using all the great machine learning features that are now coming in Livebook and NX and Scholar. There are many things that I still haven't stopped to learn how to use them properly. And I have seen there was in that event, Elixir Days, there was a talk by Paulo Valente. Paulo Valente, I believe, is a member of the NX core team, and he's a great guy. And he has shown, in a few minutes, he has shown us many interesting things that you can do with machine learning in Elixir using Livebook, which is another great project. Another thing that I didn't have time to tinker with is nerves, and mostly because I'm not much of a hardware guy, so I would need to have some hardware, to some embedded hardware, Arduino or something like that, to use nerves. But and I would like to have some, how can I say, and we are working at Lee Barney is working with that, but we want to have some resource such that someone that doesn't know how to program any programming language can learn Elixir using a resource, a website. Of course, we have Elixir School. Elixir School is great, but its focus is more on people that already know a programming language. So what if we had a resource for someone that doesn't know any programming language? That's what I want to see in the future.
That would be great. And now let's talk about the Erlang Foundation. We want to know, why did you decide to join? When, if you can tell us?
I believe when it started, people in the community said, "Oh, now there's the Erlang Ecosystems Foundation, you can join." Then I joined. Then after a few times, "Oh, we need volunteers for education working group." I joined. Now I am co-chair of the education working group, which the name of the working group is longer, but I don't remember. I always say education working group. It's simpler. And of course, and I also like that the Erlang Ecosystem Foundation supports my podcast, the Elixir in Foco. So we can use a great software for recording our interviews. It makes the editing process a lot easier. And also, one thing that we didn't mention yet, because it's kind of on pause, is I'm also part of the Hello Erlang podcast. It's a podcast that was created by Slava, who is a Ukrainian Erlanger, as he says. And you see, where is the problem? Why the podcast is on pause? It's because the invasion that Russia did on Ukraine. So it's currently on pause. Hopefully soon we will return recording interviews, but there are already, I believe, 3 interviews that we published. And this Erlang Ecosystem Foundation support is also going to support the Hello Erlang podcast. And of course, my goal in the education working group is in part to make it easier for people, at least for programmers, to learn the language. The language is not only Elixir, but Elixir, Erlang, Glean. Of course, we know that the communities from those languages, they already do a lot for making it easier for people to learn the language, but we want to help those communities. So in every episode of the Elixir in Foco, I recommend people joining the Erlang Ecosystem Foundation. I was on Elixir Days, and I also told everyone there, join the Erlang Ecosystem Foundation. It's free if you want to join There's a free option if you want to help with money. It's okay. If your company uses Elixir or Erlang or any Bing language, you can also support the foundation. And then say, no, then you can join the Erlang Ecosystem Foundation Slack, and you can be part of those working groups. For instance, the hottest one right now is the machine learning working group, and people are always discussing there. And of course, you can also, if you really love the Bing, Erlang, Elixir, you can join, for instance, the education working group and help us. Oh, I want to create a course in, let's say, Hindi, a language that I don't know. You can also ask the Erlang Ecosystem Foundation for support, and then we can say, oh, such an initiative probably would go to the education working group, and you would say, oh, that's okay, that's not okay. But there are many opportunities for helping the ecosystem, not the ecosystem, the community grow. Of course, the ecosystem too, because um, sometimes there was, I don't remember who was, but there was someone on Twitter, I believe it was Brian Cardarella. He created a GitHub repo saying, oh, what do you miss in Elixir? I believe it was Elixir, and there were some issues, and there were some people there contributing with solutions. So there are many ways where you can share knowledge, not only in the Erlang Ecosystem Foundation Slack, but it's also a great place for that. If someone who is not a part of this great community, I would say go to a meetup in your region or to an event. There are great events all over the world. I have told you about Elixir Days here in Brazil. I have organized last year with Erlang Ecosystem Foundation support too, the Elixir Fortaleza, which was in Brazil is a very big country, so it was in the Northeast. I have never been able to attend an Elixir Conf, but people say it's great, and it happens in the USA and in Europe. I have attended Code Bean America, also with help from the Erlang Ecosystem Foundation. It was great, and there are also Code Bean Europe, Code Bean Light Stockholm. Oh, I have been to Code Bean Light A Coruña. A Coruña is a beautiful city in the north of Spain. Beautiful city. And you have many options. Maybe for some people that are in some countries, it's very difficult to go to attend those conferences, but you can always listen to podcasts. There is a great community on Twitter, which is now called X, but there are lots of people that are tweeting nice things, usually nice things on there. And there's also the Elixir forum, the Slack. There's the Slack. Actually, there are 3 Slacks. I don't know, the Slack servers. There's the Erlang Ecosystem Foundation server, the Elixir server, and the Erlang server. So you have many options to join this community to see how great it is.